guess what? You're home. Welcome home. Welcome to the Success Uncensored TV show and podcast, where we're going to help you, do it well, and do it consistently. I'm your girl, host, Dr. Keita Joy, CEO of Success Uncensored Coaching, where we maximize the greatest potential of leaders, athletes, and influencers all over the nation, and help with team development skills. And guess what? Now you all have a safe space to connect with me and my dear friends and really talk about what it takes to have real success. You know, it can get hard at times, and we really want to have a space where we can give you guys the tools, the wisdom, and the nuggets to be your best self. It's gonna be so good. I can't wait. Are you ready? Are you ready? All right, let's get to it. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. The Success Uncensored Living, that is the lifestyle we all want. And I have my dear friend who's stopping by the Success Uncensored living room to hang out with us. You see this guy back here? Like right here? Like this man, super dope. And if anybody is doing the do you, do it well, and do it consistently mantra, it's Ashley D. Bell. Let me tell you, his resume is so extensive that in 2021, what we're going to do really quickly, okay, we're going to pull up the cell phone so I can tell you just a few brief highlights about someone who really represents resiliency. So before I let him tell you about himself, I'm going to tell you a little something about him. So we got Ashley D. Bell here. Right now, a member of Denton's public policy practice, the biggest, baddest in the nation, leveraging his extensive experience with both public and private sectors, served for 4 years in senior executive service in the feds. So watch out with this guy now. Watch out now. He's connected. A former White House policy advisor, former regional SBA director, and this part has his own law firm, and then this right here. Y'all ready for this? This is the part that gets me so excited, especially as a Black queen. Check this out on his resume. General counsel and co-founder of Black Bank Fund and National Black Bank Fund Foundation. Ashley, how you doing today?
I'm great, Keita. How are you? Congratulations on your new venture. This is going to be exciting. I appreciate being a part of it.
I appreciate that. And I'm so glad that you came to stop by. So the whole thing is, a lot of people can look at you, Ashley, and say, whoa, this guy here, how did he get there? This must have been easy. He just got a lot of connections. Maybe it's because he's like 6'5" or something. And that's how he got all these hookups to get to where he is today. But I don't think people really understand the power of resiliency. So can you share with us, especially right now with the Black Bank Fund, has there been any setbacks, challenges, and how do you overcome that to be so successful?
Well, I think, Keita, as you know, in anything that you want to do and do well, there's going to be challenges, especially if you're disrupted. And I think all of us, if we're trying to achieve new heights, especially for people of color and people from underserved communities, to change the status quo is easy to say it, but it's hard to do it because the status quo does not want to be changed. So you're doing something well when you see haters show up, when you see the system fight back, when it does not want to see you become the new norm. I think all of us across the diaspora want to be included in the greatness of this country. We know the systems work. They just necessarily don't work for everybody. And we're trying to make sure that we're included in that everybody. And so when you talk about the Black Bank Fund in particular, we just did a big deal with the National Basketball Association, Atlanta Hawks.
That's crazy. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. It was the first time ever that a sporting facility was financed by Black financial institutions top to bottom. And the reality is a lot of the big banks didn't think that all the little Black banks in this country would band together and would form one big bank to do a deal. And let's think about that. You know how hard it is sometimes for our people to work together, to come together. But let's take advantage of this moment we're in right now, this very historic moment of this new reckoning that our country is having. It's happening with how they treat people of color, but it's also reckoning with how we treat each other and giving each other a chance to work together, to build. And those banks coming together was huge. And once we did it, the big banks now have to look and say, wow, well, now we have a new competitor. So it was cute at first. It was like, okay, that was nice. But now we're trying to walk in the same rooms that JP Morgan, BOA, Wells
Absolutely.
Fargo in,
So now tell me
competing
this.
for their
So tell
business.
me this, Ashley, how you were talking about, you don't want these black banks just be little banks. You want them to eventually grow and be like these other big banks. But think about your life. I remember in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, starting out, you were just a smaller lawyer, just getting started, right? Kind of big,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
let's talk about that kind of small to big,
Well,
almost in the sense with the banks. How did you get to where you are with little pitfalls
well,
along the way?
I think you're right. I think I would be remiss if I didn't at least explain that part. So that part about being at a small black firm in Atlanta, where I started, and now a partner at the largest law firm in the world, and being a black lawyer in that space is it's been a road, and yet the one thing that's been consistent about me is I first started off as a public defender, Keita. So my
Wow.
I didn't see myself at this big white shoe firm doing corporate stuff. My first responsibility was to my community. So my first responsibility when I got out of law school is I represented poor black men and women who needed legal services that were caught in the system. So you spend 2 years helping people who need help the most, and you see their trials and their struggles. And I guarantee you, many other times that I was helping someone access to the resources to chase their dreams. So when you talk about somebody who had been in jail before and they get out and they can't find a job and they're trying to start a job, you can't find a job, make one, right? That's what happens a lot of times when people get lost in the system. And then they're like, well, where do I find the money to do that, right? And they get frustrated, and they many times go back to selling drugs. They go back to hustling because they can't find access. That story is still the same story I'm fighting today with making sure our banks exist, because I know who needs them.
Right.
I know that when I was a 25, 26-year-old lawyer, I spent more time in jail than most people because I was in there talking to people every day who were locked up.
Okay, I'm
And
glad you
I helped
clarified
too.
that. You weren't in there because you was locked up. You were helping other people who were locked up, right?
Man, you could feel that way. I mean,
Right.
I was a lawyer, but I was in there with them. And I don't take being a lawyer for granted because, when I was in law school, I went to LSU. My passion for my craft is rooted in the fact that I almost died in law school. I almost died in law school. My first year of law school, I had a massive sort of lung collapse, and my doctors told me I had to drop out of law school, that I would have to start over. I couldn't finish. And let me tell you, by the grace of God and by some really good friends, my professors, so I wouldn't miss so many days of class, decided to come visit me in the hospital so that would count as class so I wouldn't have to drop out. My
Wow.
friends came and would read to me my law school cases so I could technically keep up with the work because I was on so many pain meds I couldn't even read long periods of time. That showed me what love can do despite all. When everybody told me I was out, law school wasn't going to be for me because I was not going to be able to go back to class, to bounce back from that, to be
Right.
able to still finish law school and to graduate. I never take a day for granted. I think for all of us who have the blessing to be able to chase our dreams, you got to have that one moment where you think back where that dream almost died.
That part.
And you got to think about that day and that moment, and you had to make a decision whether or not you were going to double down on what you know is yours
Yeah.
and what you know your destiny for yourself. And that's why I knew that it was meant for me to be in this space, because I may be at the biggest law firm right now in the entire world and be a partner at the biggest law firm in the world. But there was a moment in a hospital somewhere in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where all of that was about to go away.
But
But
Ashley,
having a
with
prayerful
that,
family.
you made me think about something when you shared that amazing story just now.
Yeah.
When you were in that hospital in Baton Rouge, when you were at home, when you were sick, when you were struggling, after the lung collapsing,
Yeah.
you had people in your corner, people that were there for you. So when I think about pushing through, and even how you mentioned the grace of God, one of the biggest ways that God works is through people. And so I think a lot of times when we're talking about success, success is not done in a silo. It's meant to be done. I like to call it having a success circle. And it could be your
Yeah.
professor, it could be your wife, it could be your best friend, it could be another law partner, but you have to have people in your corner who truly are going to support you and support you when it's not easy. I'm sure showing up to the hospital, making sure that you turn those assignments in, that wasn't necessarily easy for them to do. They had to sacrifice. And that's what real friendships, real collaborations do. They're willing to sacrifice when they care, when they have love. So that's amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, when I think back on Akita and I think about the sacrifice of my friends, that same sacrifice they did for me, I try to carry and give to others today. Because all of us are going to run across somebody where they're one decision away or just one more bad day away from giving up. We persevere because of love. If you're not willing to extend love and love deeply and love like the world depends on it, because many times it does, somebody's world depends on it, and you have to love hard like that. And so for me, it's about mentoring. For me, it's about finding those people who need the help. And with the work I'm doing now, it's got to be mission driven. If I'm not doing something that's not affiliated with my mission, it's not worth my time.
And that is what people need to hear, because so many times people are chasing dollars. They're chasing money. And can you speak to that? Because, we're not out here trying to count your coins, but you're doing well, sir. You're doing well for yourself. But I love how even though you've accumulated wealth, that's not your focus. Your focus is purpose. Can you speak to, was it always like that? Did you always have that mindset, or did something happen where it shifted along the way?
Well, when I was a kid, my dad lost his job when I was 14. And my dad did everything right. Went to an HBCU, fought in the war in Vietnam, came back home. But NAFTA hit, my dad's job went to Mexico. So I saw a black man that was a corporate guy,
Wow.
Fortune 500 guy, in his 45-year-old stage of life, lose everything, lose his job, and had to make a decision whether or not we were going to move from my town or go to Mexico. But he chose to stay, and he had to start over. Couldn't find a job because he was too overqualified for his age, and he wanted to work for teenagers. So he ended up being a jailer at a youth detention center because he liked kids, and he
Wow.
felt like he wanted to give back. I don't care who you are. If you walk out of your house today making only 15% of what you were making yesterday, you got to make big life changes. And I had to watch the man start completely over. But he was doing it because he knew that making 15% of what he made, the difference in that 85% was helping young at-risk kids every day who were locked up be better. So I had to learn a different way of having compensation. That, the 15% was hard, but he made up for it by being able to extend himself. And he knew that by doing that, it would give him a fulfilling life. And my family adjusted. But for me, I saw that. And that is what led me to become a public defender, because I saw my dad in those jails every day, giving back every day.
I love
may
it.
not have been making a lot of money as a public defender, but I was being compensated by the wins and the victories we made every day by making other people's lives better.
You bet. You got me. Look, I'm over here. You got me snapping over here. And you said a key word, Ashley: fulfillment. That is truly what success is. And that's the Success Uncensored way to do it well, do it consistently, is so that you can have a fulfilled life. That is what success really is. Figuring out what your purpose is. So in closing, big dog, doing big things with big banks and little banks, right? Tell everybody really quickly, if we could sum it up, Do You is comprised of your values, your belief system. What would you say, or just really quickly, some of your core values that you live by to Do You?
I think the biggest part about having, values is that you got to hold yourself accountable, and you have to hold the people around you accountable too. I can't be a good friend to you or anybody else if I don't allow myself to show you my values in action. And so when I talk about banking, I talk about banking your values. You bank somewhere that's helping people. Don't bank somewhere that's not giving access to people that look like you or people from your neighborhood. It should extend to every part of your life, where you put your money, where you lay your head, where you go to church, where you choose to volunteer your time. All of these things work in concert together. Be consistent, hold yourself accountable, and don't affiliate with anybody that's not in your mission. Don't do business with people who are not in your mission. And just stay clean and clear of anything that is not for you or not with you and your values.
I love it. When someone says something so good, I'm like, that's right. And now the second part is do it well, doing things in excellence.
Well.
If you could tell somebody, because you really have grown so much in your business and what you do for the community, you have to be doing things in excellence. What are some habits of excellence that you have acquired along the way?
Well, never stop learning. I think the number one thing that I do is I'm always reading. And it's not even that I just find books to read. I find people that I admire and I ask them what they're reading. And then if I have a good
That's
book, I
good.
pass it on. If you go on my LinkedIn page, you see people all the time saying, oh, actually, just mail me this book or that book. Don't hoard information. Share
So I'll be
information.
waiting on my book.
Especially when,
I got a book
all
coming.
right. Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. Never stop learning, never stop sharing, because that's how you get better at your craft, the craft of life, understanding this world, understanding history. Like my grandmother used to say, baby, there's nothing new under the sun, just the people doing it. Don't pretend that you're doing everything for the first time. People have tried what you've done before. Learn from their mistakes, learn from their trials, and do it better.
Good. And so to close it, to do it consistently, you got to persevere, which we're talking about resiliency. So when you're at your lowest, where you're like, man, this is hard. Even at the highest level, it can still feel low. What do you do to motivate yourself to keep going?
You got to find clarity. Sometimes you got to step away. Many times when you're in the race, you're seeing all these moving pieces around you. Sometimes you just got to be still. Find there's beauty in nature. There's beauty in the gifts that God's given us on this beautiful planet we have. There's a lot of places and spaces where you can go and become one with Him again, become one and hear God's voice, be able to be in a space where it's just you and Him, and you can think and you can live and you can find out what love truly is by being quiet sometimes and just listening. And then you'll find a way to get that extra strength, a new vision, some new insight into something that you may have looked at 1,000 times, but on that 1,000th of one time you look at it, God can give you that inspiration, but you have to have clarity and a space and a place to do that.
Well, Ashley D. Bill, I want to say I feel like you took us to church. You took us to the best networking event possible. And then you also took us on home to the Success Uncensored podcast and TV show. We thank you for coming here and dropping gems, nuggets of wisdom for my whole tribe to listen to. You are truly a man who's doing you, doing it well, and doing it consistently, which is the Success Uncensored way. I just need to know, you going to stop back by again and hang out with us?
Look, congratulations on your new show. You can get anytime you need me. I'm here. Look forward to keeping up with all your success, too. Congratulations again, Keita. I look forward to seeing us.
All right. Thank you. Take care, Ashley.
All right.
What time is it? It's time for Dr. Keita Joy's Keys to Joy, your very own motivational minute. Today, I want to talk about overcoming obstacles. What do you do when everything inside you, everything, just wants to give up? You feel like you just don't have what it takes to move on. When I first started my coaching and consulting business 5 years ago, I felt like that a lot. Every time I didn't get enough clients, make enough money, I second guessed my purpose. Maybe I needed to give up. But you know what I did that kept me motivated and kept me going? I remembered my why. What's your why? So when you see yourself getting discouraged, crying, wanting to give up, second guessing it all, you better go back to your compass. And your compass is your why. Why are you doing it? Once you remember, you're doing it because you want to leave a legacy. You want to make a difference in this world. You want to leave something for your children and your children's children. You want to make an impact in society and the community around you. You want to be innovative, creative. Well, guess what? It's going to take you persevering. But when you can remember your why, it'll give you all the gusto, the energy that you need to keep going and building brick by brick by brick. So the next time you get discouraged, what we going to do? That's right. Remember your why. Yay! You could have been anywhere in the world, okay? Anywhere. Even another YouTube channel somewhere, but you said, you know what? I want to be here with my Success Uncensored family, and I thank you for that. We've grown together. I've grown being with you at this time. So what I want you to do so you can continue growing, being your best self, is remember to follow my Success Uncensored formula. And do it well, and do it consistently. And in order to do that, guess what you got to do? You got to get on out there and make sure that you've subscribed to this podcast so you can continue to get all of the Success Uncensored wisdom that you need. And then head on over to my website, successuncensored.com, where you can purchase my book, A High Achiever's Guide to Define Success on Your Own Terms. You don't want to miss it. So good, okay? so good. And then if you want to continue hanging out with me, because you're like, oh my gosh, girl, I love hanging out with you. I love your energy, your smile, your laughter, everything. Head on over to all the different social media platforms at the Dr. Keita Joy or Success Uncensored. Until next time, do you.